technology, hey?
You gotta love it. You gotta hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier, and you were saying is it's been a interesting year for you. Why has
Yeah.
that been the case?
Uh, well, obviously, first I moved. This was a huge change. I had lived in Calgary my whole entire life. So at 47 years old, minus 1 year I lived in Switzerland. But other than that, changed provinces, which was a huge change, bigger change than I actually thought it was going to be. The people, the culture, the lifestyle, uh, the everything is a lot more different than I thought. So it's been a huge
Even though
adjustment.
we're like 6 to 8 hours away, there's a difference.
There's a big difference.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's slower paced. It's just slower paced. I mean, that's I think the biggest difference, right? So, and people that I've spoken to in Alberta and Calgary have said, well, things are a little less reliable here in terms of customer service. Like we renovated, did a big chunk of renovations. We attempted to get a pool in this year. Neil basically had to build his wine wall himself. So the lack of just people wanting to work, just really, and I know that that is a thing everywhere
Mm-hmm.
right now. But when I speak to my neighbor, for example, who owns a building company, he just says this, he said the same thing. People here just, the lifestyle is just like the lake is there. They see a beautiful day. They decide they'd rather just hit the lake, or the skiing, if the snow was really good, they'd rather just drive to Big White for the day. And so it's just the work ethic from my experiences
Mm-hmm.
has been a big difference. People in Calgary are hardworking. Uh, and I don't know for sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it was been a huge adjustment. You know, when I lived in Calgary, if you call, to get your fridge fixed, or my step mill broke last week, I had 3 people that were supposed to show
Mm-hmm.
up to help me. I'd never had one person show up. The pool was supposed to be ready in the spring. We still have a ginormous hole in our backyard. It's just unbelievable. And this is I spoke to quite a few people and they've said the same thing. It's just different here. So that's an adjustment. I'm not actually sure which is better, which is worse.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that's been a huge adjustment. It has been good because my parents moved to Osoyoos, which is about an hour and not even, well, I guess it's about an hour and a half away from where we live. So that was really good. But my dad, originally he didn't want me to be too public about this, but I think he's more comfortable with it now. He's being diagnosed with a lung disease that unfortunately is, it's hasn't slowed him down too much, but it has slowed him down, and the prognosis isn't great. So that was a hard thing to swallow this year, but we're staying positive and optimistic, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that he's staying healthy. So that was an adjustment. I lost my dog this year, so that was like my best dog. I have 3, and I have a new puppy, and she's amazing. But that was, a very hard time to lose her, because literally she was my best friend.
Was
And
it
it
the Rottweiler?
Yes. So Casey, we rescued her, gosh, about 7 or 8 years ago, and she was just an incredible. You know how you just click with certain animals. There's certain dogs that are yours, even though they're part of your family. She was my
Yes.
dog, followed me everywhere, gave me the hugs, could always tell that I had those bad days. So all of a sudden, when that was no longer there, I felt a bit of a weird void. But I have to say the new puppy is amazing. And she's just actually laying right down here at my feet.
Mine's right over there too. So
Yeah,
they're our best friends, aren't they?
they are.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. We just do not deserve them. They are so
No.
incredibly amazing with such unconditional love, and they give you so much therapeutic reassurance that everything is going to be okay. Just the petting of the dog just calms you down. So, and then of course with COVID, you know, I've really struggled with watching people treat each other differently. I hate seeing this divide that's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
The censorship, all of this to me is very troubling, and it makes me sad. So I've had to really adjust
Mhm.
what I watch, what I allow myself to read, just for my own mental wellness. It's been disappointing and heartbreaking to see what this has done. So I've really tapped into more meditating, more deep breathing, literally just because I have felt emotionally the most unstable that I ever have. And this is being very open. The last year, more than anything. In fact, I just had a doctor's appointment, and she said to me, this is a doctor I've only
Mhm.
seen twice before because I just moved here, but she said, "Are you okay? You seem a little less yourself." And she just picked up on it. So
Mhm.
I'm working on that, but there's just, we all have stuff we're dealing with, every single one of us. It's just how you're going to decide you want to handle it, deal with it. And I've really realized through the last year that literally it is 100% all mindset. So I've made some small changes in the way I've approached my day to day, and it does help a lot.
Mhm.
When you get up in the morning and you don't turn the social media off and you keep the TV off, and you literally in your mind say out loud what you're thankful for. You look outside the window and appreciate the beauty of where you live, and that's anywhere. It doesn't need to be in beautiful Kelowna. Calgary is absolutely phenomenal and beautiful, and I miss so many things about that
Mhm.
city. But it's only, like you said, a 7 hour drive. But it really, getting up and making sure that you are starting the day with that positive mindset, visualizing what you're going to do for the day and accomplishing the things that you said you're going to accomplish. That's a big thing for me. If I
Mhm.
have a to-do list and I keep pushing it back, that is something that really, really wears on me. So I just make efforts to make sure that I'm staying as positive and as happy as I possibly can. And part of that is just making sure that I'm also taking the best care of myself physically, which has been huge for me. And this is what I push everyone to do. And this is why I do these challenges, because we are all, like I said, struggling. So one component of keeping the positivity and keeping that happiness going is to make sure you're taking care of yourself physically. And
Mhm.
that always translates into your emotional and spiritual well-being as well.
No, for sure. When you look at this past year, was it the past 2 years or the past year that you've seen there's a change in people and
So,
in their,
yeah.
you know, we heard the phrase "we're all in this together," but are people getting bitter, or are they getting, well, people are exhausted. Everyone's exhausted. They're tired. The deterioration of mental health. What were some things that you found within yourself to say, "Oh, I'm not okay, and I need to not look at the phone, not look at the news"? Who told you that? Or some of the daily routines that you do, how did you find that these are going to help me at least get through to the next day?
Yeah, great question. I think that at the beginning of the pandemic, to answer your first question, I think we really were in this together. I
Mm-hmm.
really felt optimistic and so excited about the whole world and everyone coming together and
Yeah.
being safe and protecting each other and doing what we needed to do. And I really felt that almost the entire world coming together, and it was amazing. So I would say I've only seen a change over the last not even year, probably, I guess the divide kind of started with the differences between people who wanted to get vaccinated and people who
Mm-hmm.
didn't. And I think that really has only been over about a 6 month period. So that's when I started seeing the demise and the cruelty and the opinions and negativity on social media. And so that was what really started discouraging me the most. And I actually have experienced it myself, and I've actually also seen it. Obviously, we've all seen people
Mhm.
talking to people in public
Mhm.
places if they're not complying. I mean, I was in the Banff Springs Hotel doing a fitness conference last week, and I literally watched two hotel guests scream at the hostess who was asking her to put a mask on, and the way she spoke to him was heartbreaking. And I just was standing there, and I actually agreed with her, but the way she was speaking to the person who didn't make the rules, is just trying to enforce them, was just not acceptable. So I finally just jumped in and said, I'm sorry, I just can't listen to you speak to this poor man this way anymore. He didn't make the rules. Go and get a mask and be nice. It's
Mhm.
just and, then he walks me to the table, and this is a guy who sat me at the table for the 5 mornings with this beautiful bubbly personality, and he held himself so proudly. And then that day he was walking me and the shoulders go down, and you can tell it just was weighing on him. And I felt bad for him. And I said to him, don't let those women to get on you. Obviously they're maybe from a different country where masks aren't mandated anymore. And it's unfortunate. And you're not the person who made the
Mhm.
rules. Um, and he just said, he just seemed so discouraged. So that kind of thing really bothers me. Innocent people who are just trying to make a living, do their job, been told to do it. Um,
They follow these rules. This is what we need done, and yeah, I know, and they don't want to enforce it either
they don't
because it's
want to.
scary.
It
I know
is.
so many people that work at, the Safeway or some of the other grocery stores here in Calgary, and they're afraid to say to people, "Hey, please put up your mask." I don't
No,
know. I mean,
it's not.
nobody wants to do this to each other,
No, no.
right? So it's just we just have to be kind, and I think what COVID has also shown is that reflection of how you're feeling inside is actually there's no filter anymore. People don't care. And it's really sad because I've said this before is people will also remember what you said. So how you and I are say following up a mutual page and we know that one person and that person is now yelling at somebody and making fun of someone. We might not say anything, but we will remember, won't
Yeah,
we?
absolutely. There, people forget that there's human beings on the other end of the post, or the person working in the Safeway and the restaurants. And I feel very, very, very badly for the people who have to try to enforce these rules, because it is uncomfortable. Because I think, to answer the other part of your question, is I think you're right. People are just sick and tired. It doesn't matter what side of
No, it doesn't. That's not even the question anymore. Yeah.
the everyone, we're tired of everything that's going on. And as a result, because we are not doing what we should be doing to take care of that anxiety, that anger, through fitness, through meditating, through self-reflection, it comes out against people who are completely innocent. And that's, I think that is what's bothering me the most about this. And I think that the thing that made me realize that I wasn't doing very well is that I was crying every day. I still cry every day.
Mm.
Um,
But that's also a sign of releasing something in your body, isn't
yeah,
it? It's
it
it
is.
is a beautiful thing to cry.
Yes,
I mean, in
makes me feel better.
see,
But I also know that crying every day is probably not a good thing. And
were they joys, tears of laughter and joy, or were they tears of sadness?
Yeah, I'll be driving. I actually spoke about this about one of my posts the other day. I always get 10,000 steps in every day, and I'd only had 7 or something. So, and it wasn't very nice out. So I said, oh, I'm just going to go on my treadmill and walk another 20 minutes and get at least 2,000 more. I encourage my clients to do that. So I always like to walk the walk and make sure I'm doing what I'm encouraging all my clients to do. So
Right.
I went down the treadmill and I was just listening to some music, and this song came on, and it was about a man singing to this girl and saying, everything's going to be okay. Get up in the morning. The light is coming. I want you to see this. Make sure you work. And I felt that he was singing the song to me. And I started crying on the treadmill because, it was just one of those days I had had a disagreement with probably, someone close to me. I
Yes.
can't remember what had set me off, but I wasn't feeling great. And that song came on, and I just let it go. I used to try to take a deep breath, take a glass of water, a sip of water, and fight the tears. And lately, I just know that I'm not going to be able to. So that was my first predictor, that there's just moments where I'm driving or walking, or I hear a song, or I watch something on TV, and I just literally start to cry. So that was the first sign. And the second sign is I was feeling more irritable.
Mm.
I'm a very patient person. I deal with hundreds of women, and although I love all of them, and I appreciate them all, it's a lot. And so I was noticing that my patience wasn't the way it was. I was getting mad at my puppy, which I never, ever, ever did, ever. She was like hardly even doing anything, and I was losing my cool with
Mm.
her. So I just noticed things about my personality that I did not recognize. So it's a work in progress. I have hired a therapist. That is huge. And I realized that even when you're feeling fine, it's just so nice to sit across from someone who just wants to listen to you talk for an hour, give maybe some insight or a different perspective.
Mhm.
Been a game changer for me. So that was huge. And he has given me some incredible tools, um, and some insights that I never would have ever considered without his professional help. So I've really, really appreciated
Mhm.
that. And then just encouraging her. And the other thing that I have been trying to do to make sure I'm staying mentally healthy is, again, taking care of myself physically. So just picked up those things a notch, which has been honestly a game changer. I've always taken care of myself, always, but little things like I started fasting. I started doing the cold water treatments, which are awful, especially in the winter. It's easy in the summer when it was 35 degrees out. But little things like that, the sense of accomplishment, getting your tasks finished, those are all things that have contributed to me staying above water. But every day right now is a bit of a challenge for sure.
Right. Have you tried credo therapy? I think it's called
No,
credo.
what is that?
It's when you go in the steam, but it's ice. Like,
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I've
yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
And I think I want to try that. Like that is something that like the whole cold treatment thing. This is all very new to me, and I don't know that it's that new. I just think for me it's been new, and I think it's also because of the people I'm now following. Like I'm really become more obsessed about the staying metabolically healthy and what you need to do those
Mhm.
things. And all of the experts talk about cold treatment, which I believe.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, it puts your body in a shock, but I've also heard it helps with PTSD, trauma.
Yes, I 100%.
Mhm.
I don't know what exactly it is.
It
That
just seems so uncomfortable.
It is
Yeah,
very uncomfortable, but I think that is what is why it's helping with your PTSD.
because you're facing it head on, your body, everything. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and you're uncomfortable. I watched a show once where this woman, when she was stressed, she would go get tattoos because of the discomfort and the pain.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of correlation. I'm definitely no expert about this, but there's something about putting your body or yourself, and not just your body, but you really have to be mentally tough
Yeah.
to submerge yourself into an ice bath
Yeah.
this high for 3 to 6 minutes. It is a mentally, and I think honestly it's just facing those fears, facing the things that make you the most
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, and heading them straight on. And it's that sense of accomplishment once you've done something like that, knowing you've done something really good for you. Not just, I mean, a lot of people think it's crazy, but I did it for 10 straight days as a challenge for myself. I think I ended up doing a few extra days, and I haven't been as consistent. Honestly, it's just too much. It's so much harder when it's cold outside to do it, because after you get out of the ice tub, you do not warm up. You have to put toques on and like your body to get back up to that sometimes it never happened for me. I literally sometimes would go to bed with toque and mittens on and layers
Yeah.
just to sleep. So, but I know it's something that's good for me, and I know it's something that's a mental challenge for me. And I honestly, doing things that are so uncomfortable, out of those comfort zones, even, agreeing to do podcasts, those sorts of things really do give you a sense of accomplishment, and it gives you that confidence. So I think there's
100%.
definitely a relationship or
Mm-hmm.
correlation between not only your physical health, but your mental health, to put yourself through your body and through your mind through those uncomfortable
And
situations.
it's nerve-wracking, isn't it, to do those kind of things for yourself? Did you feel better after the 10 or 13 days?
Uh, oh my God, yes. I couldn't.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I always feel so when you're in tune to your health and into your body as much as I am, because there are very few people, and this is a pretty bold statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. There are very few people that really know what health feels like, what healthy feels like, because they don't get there. They have other goals as to why they want to, they would rather look skinny, or
Mm-hmm.
their main objective isn't to feel good and have energy and clarity and sleep better and be able to handle the stresses in life through taking care of yourself. Their goals are to look a certain way. And because of that, people quit or do too many dramatic things or too many drastic things, and when they don't get the results, they quit. And so people just don't get to that
Mm-hmm.
level of health as much as they should. And so for me, because it's my profession, it's been my profession for 30 years, I have always tried my best. I'm definitely not perfect. I'm a human being, but there have been most periods of my life where I've taken very good care of myself. You can't ask people to take care of themselves and to work out, eat well, get your
Mm-hmm.
sleep, etc., if you're not yourself doing that. So I've always really tried my best to set an example for the people that I'm training.
Now, I always think if you want to take care of yourself or take care of your health, you sacrifice everything in your life. I mean, sorry, you can't do this. I have to go to the gym. I can't eat this. And all these things. Is that a quality of life as well? To not
No,
enjoy?
no. And this is I'm glad you brought that up, because
Mhm.
I don't want to come across as like you cannot miss a workout and you cannot go out for dinner. I am all about balance. In fact, that's what I
Mhm.
really teach all of my clients is,
That's-
you have to enjoy the things that make you happy. But if you also want to have the energy and look a certain way, there has to be that compromise. So I always say, yes, there's discipline, but there's never a deprivation, ever. And so I coach people through the differences, because that really, in my opinion, is the difference. You never should feel deprived, but the difference between deprivation and feeling disciplined is completely different.
Mm.
So there is definitely some discipline that is involved, but I find that when people actually demonstrate and practice discipline in their life, there's that sense of confidence and accomplishment that comes along with it. Not just you look better and feel better, but you're proud of what you're
Mm-hmm.
becoming and who you're becoming. And so when I say that people don't really feel healthy, I truly do feel that. I feel that, and it doesn't mean that you have to go to the extremes that I do. You don't have to do the cold water treatments, and you don't. To be honest with you, Zach, I'm not that extreme. I only lift weights 3 days a week, and I get my steps in. Get my sleep. I drink my water. I love to eat well, but I also on the weekends enjoy my treats. I actually have treats every day, but I don't live my life as disciplined as probably a lot of people think.
Right.
Because my 47 years collectively have been overall healthy, I'm rewarded for maybe not being as disciplined or structured as possibly someone just starting at 40 would have to be to get the same benefits.
For sure.
I'm trying to remember why I brought up the whole fact about taking care of yourself and why people don't feel the healthy. I know there was a point to that, but my point would be is that when people have that certain level of health in their life with balance and without deprivation, they have that sense of more control in their life, more confidence. It has so much to do with confidence. Have you ever spent like 3 or 4 days on in Vegas and had fun, and then you're flying home and you're like, oh God, I feel like I just want to spend 4 days in bed and do nothing. I don't want to talk to anyone. It's almost like you go through a bit of a depression because you haven't really.
I think it's your dopamine levels.
I think it must be, right? Yeah. And even if I've, over like the week.
Or a hangover. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, a combination of all of those things. Yeah. And I'm always I always go out on a Saturday and have my wine and my champagne and eat all the desserts and everything. And so Sunday morning I wake up and always think, oh gosh, why do I do that to myself? But then, after my kind of greasier breakfast on Sunday, I try to get back into a better routine. So I always sort of accept that Sundays are my day of lower dopamine levels and not feeling so great, but that's my day. And then by Monday, I've always made sure I've gotten a bit of some type of workout in, whether it's just my steps or a little lift in the gym. But by Monday, I'm feeling back to normal. And I think that's the balance component that I think is so important, because if people are too rigid and too structured without a little bit of that break, they won't stay with it. There's just absolutely no way people can. No human being, doesn't matter how disciplined you are, you have to have those days and moments where you're enjoying the things that you want to enjoy that maybe are not as healthy as they.
For sure. How do you keep sexy and confidence away from vanity and not have ego? Because some people might think, well, if I want to work out and I'm going to look a certain way, yes, I might feel good, but I also don't feel good because now I'm becoming this guy or gal that's portraying, look at me in front of all these people. How do people ever deal with that? And I'm sure you've had that question or gone through that in the 30 years of your career.
Yeah, that is such a good question. And I love that you asked that question, because that is something that I'm so challenged by. It is the biggest challenge for me, because I'm getting older. I don't know how many more years I'm going to be able to put on a bikini and inspire. My years are definitely dwindling.
Yeah, but you could be a 70, 80-year-old person doing that too, right?
Yeah.
They could be like, oh my God, look.
It's true. And now more than ever, you're seeing, and I believe that women just get sexier, more beautiful, and should get more fit as they get older, because they're more confident. They've had more time to invest in themselves. Their children are grown. So
they know who they are and they know what they want. Yeah.
100%. And confidence is what makes someone beautiful. If you can see right through someone someone's beauty if it doesn't come from within. I think people who are in their late 30s and 40s are starting to realize what they have to offer. I know for me, every single year, I get more and more comfortable in my own skin. And I know that is what is attractive for people, or attractive to people. And that comes with age, through experiences, of course. But yeah, so I really fight with that, because I have my parents who follow me on social media, my clients
Yeah.
who follow me on social media. I have my husband who follows me on social media. So when I'm posting pictures that are a little bit sexier, I always kind of worry about, and both my parents have said things like, "Oh, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do the workout in your bikini?" And I actually have a funny story I can quickly tell you about the reason why I'm still comfortable doing those things. And I've always fought with that, because should it matter what I look like or how sexy I am in a bathing suit or whatever I'm posting? Should that matter to anyone who's thinking about purchasing a program from me? It shouldn't matter. What should matter is that I'm educated, that I have experience, and that I know how to motivate.
And your energy's coming out, and what you're teaching and showing. But I was saying is, for someone wanting to do, in their own mind, would they feel like, they're coming in with zero to no confidence, or very little, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you're coming in and saying, well, if I do this, I'm going to look buff, or I'm going to look a certain way. I don't know if sexy is the right word, but whatever it is to that person that they want to look like, do they start thinking, or have you heard clients ever say, well, now I'm vain because I'm thinking this way?
No,
No?
when you start taking care of yourself, you're going to just feel happier, more confident, and sexier.
So it shifts your whole mindset.
And
Okay. Yeah.
I call it the shift. That's exactly what I call it. I say, once you get there, your brain shifts, your approaches shift, the way you approach everything in your day-to-day shifts, and you never go back, because you have spent the time and the effort.
Mhm.
You've been disciplined enough, you've been patient enough to get there, and now you get it. And once you get there, and that whole outlook on the way you've lived your life has changed, take some time though. And that's why we don't always shift. Sometimes we quit. But when people shift and they get there, they never go back. And you'll see more selfies of them, and you'll see them buying more outfits, and you'll see them washing their hair more often. You just can see they walk differently. That to me is
It's like
why.
injection of life, eh? And that's
Yes, and I always say, absolutely embrace that, because you've worked hard.
yeah.
You if you feel sexy, you need to embrace it and let the world know that you have earned that. And I think that's great. That is something that we all need to embrace. And women, especially women, need to make sure that and literally that is why I'm comfortable and confident posting workouts and bikinis and showing that sexier side of me, because I have heard from the people who follow me, women, say that is what inspires them. That is what motivates them. Literally have been zooming with my one-on-one clients, and they will say to me, please keep posting pictures of yourself and workouts.
Oh, that's amazing.
In bikinis, because that's what inspires me. And so it's great when they say that out loud, and my husband's standing there, because he doesn't believe me. He's
I love that.
looking for attention and the likes. And I mean, maybe in my 30s, that definitely would have stroked my ego, but now it's all about me running a business.
No, it's a business, yeah.
It's in my business. And if my clients are doing a Zoom call and they're saying, please keep doing it. And when you do that, I show my friends, my trainer, look at my trainer. I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh, wow.
So that to me reinforces that what I'm doing is not offensive, not degrading, and not, pushing people away. It's actually encouraging people to embrace that part of them if they have that. and to be proud of it. And I think that when fellow women, especially women, it's great to have, a gentleman say, wow, you look nice. But when the women,
Because that's your target audience, that's your demographics. Yeah, for sure.
and
Was there any unlocks in your brain when you the more you go through the journey of fitness? Is there new unlocks where you're able to tackle more things because of fitness?
100%. I
Hmm.
Zach, I wish, if people are listening to this, I want people to know that if you're kind of in a rut, or you're stuck and you just don't have that motivation, you don't really want to leave your house or get out of bed in the morning, or you're suffering in your friendships and your relationships, I can honestly say that if you start making you a priority, and that isn't just about your fitness, that is everything about you. When you start taking care of you first, and of course that means getting those lifts in a couple days a week, not every day. You just need to go to the gym a few days a week. We don't need to be committing your whole life to it.
No,
I
for
think
sure.
that's a misconception, right? People think they need to be investing hours in the gym. No, most people overtrain. So once people make a priority to take care of themselves and say no to certain things because they know it's not right for them, your world changes. Your
Wow.
world changes. And I know that because I've experienced it myself. I've not always been
Hmm.
this way. I've been in some pretty dark places, not motivated, not wanting to get out of bed. We've all been there. But when I say, okay, Tish, get your shit together for God's sakes, and start making me a priority, start saying no, the world, the universe changes. You attract certain type of people,
So
and
true.
certain type
Yeah.
of people that also aren't cool with your lifestyle also leave, which is sometimes okay too. But yeah,
Speaking of that, though, just on a side note, during COVID or during this time, these 2 years, have you realized that some people closest to you weren't your people?
yeah, yeah. I just had this conversation with my mom and dad. Actually, they called me a few days ago. They were a little worried about me. One of my posts set them off. They're hypersensitive about how I'm doing mentally. Just I'm their kid, and they love me. So I know that,
Hopefully, right?
yeah, yeah. And they know that I've been struggling a little bit. So, I posted something a little more sentimental, and I got the phone call. Are you doing okay? And we had some tears, but I said to them, I'm doing totally okay, Mom. You do not have to worry about me. I'm good. And I said, there's positives that have come out of this
Hmm.
scenario. And so I mentioned stuff. I said, there's been incredible people that have entered my world over the last 6 months.
Hmm.
And there's been people that probably shouldn't have been in my world that are now gone. And that's okay. I once was told that and I mentioned this in one of my podcasts. I was once told that you have a hard time keeping friendships and maintaining relationships. Someone told me that, and I reflected on that, because that was hurtful for me, and I thought, wow, I wonder why they're saying that, because it's hard sometimes to listen to
Hmm.
feedback, criticism, especially when someone is maybe trying to be mean. But I always try to reflect on what people are saying, because even though maybe what they're saying is trying to hurt you, maybe there is some truth in what they're saying. And that's really hard to do. And that's something that I have never been able to do up until just recently. But
And
when
that's a growth, by the way, isn't it?
it's huge, it's huge. It's so hard to look inside and look within and take responsibility for what's happening in your life. But ultimately, it is your responsibility to do that. And you're a better person when you do that. And but what I've realized is that people do come and people do leave your life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person or you've been a bad friend. Sometimes people just grow in different directions. And it's okay to sometimes say, this friendship or relationship is no longer helping me emotionally, spiritually, I think we need to part ways. And I realize that that's not necessarily a bad thing. But alternatively, I've also had some incredible new people join my life over the last 6 months. I was able to connect with
Yes,
you.
absolutely. Look at this. Yeah.
Super cool and really fun because I've always been kind of watching you in the background.
Yeah.
And I love, obviously, your pages on social media because I'm a huge Calgary fan, obviously.
Yes, you got to keep it in your heart.
Yes, always, always. And actually, when you move away, you love it more. You appreciate it more. But yeah, and so to lose people, it's definitely happened more than I thought. But for the better. I've realized you don't need 100 people in your life. You just need a couple that you know will be there for sure, no matter what. And I do have that in my life. And it makes it a little easier and a little less busy as well. But it's also making me a lot happier. So that's great.
Yeah, when you have all these clients and they're saying, "Hey, Tish, let's go out, or let's meet up," it must get exhausting.
Well,
But it's also exciting at times.
yes. Yeah. Like I'll be honest, that's part of why I had to leave Calgary. Born and raised in Calgary. So a long time, except for that 1 year I was in.
And business started in Calgary as well for you?
Yes.
Oh my God. So, and Calgary is a small city. It's a big city, but it's a small city.
It is. Yes. And so, I trained some high level athletes, some professional athletes. And I was feeling claustrophobic in Calgary. I would go to a local, one of the fun places for lunch, sit down, bring my laptop because I do like the energy of people.
Earl's Tin Palace or what?
Probably not Earl's Tin Palace, but somewhere along 4th Street or 17th Ave that you would sit there, put your laptop up, get your lunch. And
what neck of the woods did you grow up in, by the way?
I grew up in Southwest Calgary, like Woodbine.
Yes.
But I golfed at Bears Paw Country Club. So that was
Oh my gosh.
I know. So my parents literally would drive me from the Southwest to 45-minute drive to Bears Paw every single day because I didn't have my driver's license at the time.
Right.
Or if I did, I didn't have a car.
Are you still an avid golfer or you just love golf, the game of golf?
Yeah, I love golf. I don't golf as often. It takes so much of your time. And so that it's a 4-hour round, but also an hour to get there and then an hour. So it's like basically your whole day. I could do it this summer because I'm starting to slow things down a little bit. I'm trying anyways, but I've always loved golf. But as a junior, I loved golf. I loved all the boys and I loved I loved the whole thing. So yeah.
Were you one of the boys?
I tried to be.
Yeah.
I really tried to fit in. I was actually the only girl because my parents when they dropped me off, they wanted to leave me there for all day. So they made me get a job there as well. So I would golf and then I was a back shop girl. If I was the only girl. So I did try to kind of be part of the gang, but they would kill squirrels and on the wall.
Boys being boys, right?
Yes, and that wasn't going over very well with me. I never really could adjust to that. And I'm not actually a big crier. I'm sounding like I'm a big crybaby, but that would absolutely make me cry as well. But yeah, so I've always really loved being around boys more than girls, to be honest with you. I've always felt more comfortable around them. It's been hard for me to, not so much now, I'll have to say.
Which is irony because your clients are all women.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the difference now is that I'm connecting with more like-minded people now, more than ever. So the people that I train are the people that are just like me.
Tish, what's so funny is you and I, we can be doing podcasts. We're out there on social media in different ways. And people also never know what other people are going through. That, you know what, you're crying every day. You're struggling with your own demons that you face, just like I do, and so many others. I think we all do. Um, what are like, I know we got to get going here, but what is a message you could leave people with in terms of how we should treat one another in today's era, in this crazy times?
Oh,
You're like, gosh, Zach, thanks for that.
yeah, no, that's, I really, it's so true. We're all struggling and we're all going through a bunch of shit right now. And I think that that's what we have to remind ourselves. That's what we have to remind ourselves. Every single person in this world right now is struggling with something. And it may not be a COVID thing, but there's always something, especially as you get older, right? Like I just talked to our friend last night about all the things that he's going through. And I say, it seems like life just gets so much harder as you get older. You lose more people,
Yeah.
your parents are getting older.
That's a scary thought, isn't it? Yeah.
It's very scary, and it's just stuff that crept up so quickly. So I think the first thing we need to do is remember that we all are first in this world together, and we're all struggling. And so kind words, small efforts go a long way. So instead of walking by someone and not making eye contact, look at that person and even just a tiny little smile. You don't even have to say hello, goes a long way.
Okay, now what if you can smile because you're wearing the mask?
I know, but then
Your eyes can smile.
I just said, I say to people, I'm smiling, and they go, we can tell, we can see it in your eyes. So people can tell through the eyes, probably like exaggerate your smile a little bit more. But, just little things like waving when someone lets you in, wave, small, tiny little things that are so incredibly easy to do, but no one does them because we're all so self-centered about what's going on in our world. So, for example, when I stop and wait for someone to pull it in, I didn't have to. I had the right of way, but I wanted to be nice. And they drive, but they don't say hello. That just takes me to the next level of insanity. How I just let you in. Why can't you just wave and say thanks? But what I realized is that they are appreciative.
You must be American. I'm just kidding.
No, pretty sure this happened in Canada a few times. But people are just in the zone of their own life, of what's going on. And so if they just took a moment, deep breath, and realized that was actually quite kind of me, and say thanks, that would have made my day. Just small.
Has this been around forever, or do you think this is in COVID that we've now become more self-centered?
I think we've always been quite self-centered. I mean, and I think there's a little there. We have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves for sure. But if we need to be a little bit more aware of our surroundings and who the people are around us, we're
incremental movements of just doing better, being better daily.
Small little things that are so small. Holding the door open for someone.
Thank you.
I went down the stairs. There was a guy behind me, and he was one flight up, but I stopped and I held the door open, and he didn't say thank you. And I was like, why don't you just say thanks?
Did you call him out on it?
No, I didn't, because again, it's like, that's negative energy. I don't want it. But I thought to myself, but he was on his phone. He was staring at his phone, and he's completely oblivious to his surroundings.
So when you get that energy back, say that person you waited for in the parking lot, and you're upset, and now you have that in you, you could have just taken that spot and been like, okay, whatever.
Yes.
Go on with your day. But when you take those little hits, those jabs, they add up, and then they'll become this big in your body. What do you do to get rid of that energy out of you?
Well, I first stopped taking anything personally. When you just stop taking those things personally, and I'm a sensitive person. And so that has been extremely difficult for me. because I take things personally, and people hurt my feelings very easily. So for me to be,
Tish, have you been hurt before in a really bad way or broken?
um, yes, I have. I think
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not 25-year-olds, but at 47 years old, I've had some terrible heartbreaks and some really bad things happen. But at 47, if you haven't experienced anything, that's what makes people happy, by the way. I truly feel like until you've really experienced hardship and pain and heartbreak and the loss of someone or something, that sadness, you don't truly really understand what true happiness is. And I think that that is why I'm so appreciative
Mm-hmm.
of the small things now, is because there have been moments in my life where there have been some really dark times, losing certain people in my life. Um,
And in terms of losing, you mean in passing away?
yeah,
Yeah,
losing, and like people just no longer in my life
in your
because
life. Yeah.
of
For whatever circumstance. Yeah.
exactly. So both.
Mhm.
When I was younger, I lost my like second dad. I have one dad, but he was like a father figure to me. He was actually my dad's best friend. I would think I was about 17 or 18 years old, and he got in a car after drinking and killed himself. And we got the phone call at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was one of the most devastating things that, to this day, that I still have ever experienced, because it was like losing my dad.
Mhm.
He wasn't my dad.
Mhm.
He was so close to me. So
Mhm.
I was young. But like those sorts of things really, when you go into this sense of loss, and sadness, when you get out of it and you experience more happy times, you are so much more appreciative
Mhm.
of being happy. And because when you're sad and depressed, and I've never been on, and of course I would never, if I felt like I needed antidepressants or any anti-anxiety meds,
Then
I
you
would.
would go, of course. Yeah.
There's no stigma at all. I think that
No.
if you need to, but I've never.
Mhm.
And I would if I felt like I needed to. But I have definitely gone through periods where I felt sad and depressed, was able to shake out of it through a good workout or through my
Mhm.
therapy session. But when you are out of that hole and you're in a good moment and you're with good people, you're so much more appreciative of that moment. And I think that that honestly comes with time, getting older, and just specific experiences that you've
Mhm.
had. I just am a nicer person now that I'm older.
Then when you were younger, eh?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I just appreciate people way more. I know.
Are you easier on yourself? Are you lighter on yourself now? Or kinder to yourself? It like depends on the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I look in the mirror today and say, I'm proud of you, Tish. Whereas in the past, I haven't always
Mm-hmm.
been proud of certain things that how I've,
Done, said. Yeah, we've all done stupid things, and
right.
we're
Yes, like,
humans. We're gonna make mistakes, you
yeah,
know. Yeah.
exactly. And so you need to forgive yourself for making those mistakes. But yeah, I'm pretty hard on myself, quite hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the people in my life are hard on me in a good way. But it makes me tough. It makes me strong. It makes me work hard. And so I'm appreciative of those people, and I'm appreciative of being. I wish I could be a little less difficult on myself, but I don't think I'll ever improve that much on that. I'm working on it. But my therapist coaching me through that
Mm-hmm.
as we speak.
Journaling, the importance of journaling, and the importance of goal setting. Are you seeing people lose the motivation and drive to goal set and journal because I don't know, the cycle just keeps happening. It's like Groundhog's Day.
Yes, I think people put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
When you're ready to make changes, it doesn't have to be January, it doesn't have to be September. When you're ready, it's going to click and you're going to do it. And I think we put just too much pressure on ourselves. to be like, okay, it's January. I need to be a better person. I need to, and again, we start changing everything at once. January 1, okay, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to, I'm going to get my 9 hours of sleep every night, and I'm going to work out every day. And they just change everything. And what happens when you change everything is your expectation also is elevated. So when you make these huge changes and you expect to see something happen after a week of doing all these things, and you don't, because it takes time, it takes some patience, people get so discouraged and quit. And that's why you don't get that motivation, is because motivation comes through action and through results. And the only way you get the results is through your actions. And so it's a circle. I kind of describe it as this. So people say, how do you stay so motivated? Well, you have to act. You have to decide to do it. So once you decide to make a few adjustments in your life, whether it's improving or increasing strength training, or improving the people in your life, whatever it is, then what happens through those actions is you start seeing results, or you start feeling the results. And those results are what motivates you to keep going. So if you don't act, you're never going to see the result. And that's the problem, is people don't spend the time through the actions. They get frustrated with the lack of results. They want those immediate gratifications. That's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in. Welcome to social media, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly, right?
Instant gratification.
Exactly. So I think that, I do really like the idea of like a September or January fresh start, because it does encourage people, to have a little bit of fun over the Christmas holidays. I always encourage my clients to work out a little less, enjoy the Christmas holiday, because once January hits, we can get back into it. So it kind of gives people a sense of relief that if they do have kind of a couple of weeks over the holidays of less discipline, less activity, whatever that entails. I know for me that's always what happens over December, is I just enjoy a little bit more of the festivities. And I see that January is that fresh start. So I do like that, because it really does cut some slack over the Christmas holidays, and they can really look to January as a fresh start, same as September. With summer, people get off track. So I always kind of encourage people, September is also a good fresh start. But I also want people to know that they can start whenever they want. If they're not ready to start in January because they have a new career happening, or they're traveling, or they're, one of their loved ones isn't doing well and they can't commit to a healthier lifestyle because they're putting more energy and effort into something like that, that's okay too. You start when you're ready. And the other thing people need to know is that it's never like this, right? You don't start in January and keep going. A new career happens. Oh, someone in your family is not doing well. So there's going to be blips and reasons as to why you're not going to be able to be a priority in your life. So to make it that January or September is the only time to do it, I always want people to know that there's never a perfect time, and there's never the right time. You basically start when you're ready, but also cut yourself some slack. Sorry, Tempest is being annoying. Cut yourself some slack when you have to take the time off, and it's a journey, right? And so I do actually like sort of the January restart, because it does remotivate people, and it does give people I like to give them sort of some permission to have a little bit of some time off over the holidays.
Right. Well, I appreciate your time today, Tish. This has been great. Thank you again for this.
I hope that it's been good. It's been really fun. Yeah, you asked great questions.
They're a little extreme at times, aren't they?
No, I don't mind though. It's good.
Yeah.
It's, what, as long as people are comfortable sharing, which I am.
Yeah.
And it's important to be real and to be honest and to let.
The world got enough bullshit and fakeness out there, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. And I really, my whole thing is positivity, and I have to be honest with you, Zach. It's been really hard for me to be like, hi, life is good right now. So it's important, I think, to let people know that
how we're feeling.
Yes, that sounds perfect.
Yes. All right. See you, Tish.
Yeah, thanks so much for
Okay.
the chat, Zach. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk